A very good evening. Welcome to Conversations with Clive Williams. I'm Clive, and next to me is Gail Lewis, Professor Gail Lewis. Prof, how are you?
I am well. Good evening. How are you, Dr. Williams?
Very good. How many holidays are you celebrating?
Well, we're doing Passover, we're doing Ramadan, we're doing a little Easter. So, we're not eating,
Okay.
but we're not talking about it. And, and there's no pork and, all the things.
And here's
yeah.
the thing. I'm fasting, but I'm not observing any particular religious.
Let me see if I got this straight.
Yeah.
You are fasting for the fun of it?
Yeah, not for the fun of it. For my girth.
Decreasing the girth over here.
Yeah, making every effort to and trying to instill some discipline in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, taking myself under control.
Okay.
It's called self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we should do a whole show on self-care.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
And,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's when we spoke to Chris, I think he really highlighted the importance of that, especially among our men folk.
Yes.
You girls, you women, you do a great job.
Let me just sidebar there. I don't know that we do a good job as women. Generally, we tend to take care of everyone else first. But I think what you're thinking of maybe is we get our nails done and our hair done, and that kind of, and that's great, but that's not really self-care. That's kind of like maintenance. But self-care goes beyond just the getting doing that. So that whole part of the self-care I think we should talk about. And of course, men just need to learn to make that part of their routine, and not hair and nails, but other things for self-care. But we'll get there another day.
Your point is well made and taken.
Mental health care, self-care.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure. We folks, if you're just joining us, I'm Clive. This is Professor Gail Lewis, and we have been doing this show for a number of weeks, and we have been attempting to engage you on matters that concern us. And as you might get from my presentation, if you've watched, you've listened, you'll know that I'm about empowering black folks. Not that I'm not concerned about other folks. I am concerned. But I have to be more concerned because the last time I checked, I qualified in the black box, right? And when I see someone in the community that reflects me, I have concerns. And we need to have concerns based on what we've been seeing in the news. We are... I heard a backstory. I don't know how true it is. If you are aware of it, you can maybe inform me. But the man, Mr. James, who was recently
arrested. Subway shooter / bomber.
Subway shooter, bomber. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no justification for that kind of action. However, I heard that this man has a trail of losing stuff. He has just been foreclosed somewhere in Ohio, and he has been losing all that he has worked for, whether through his own carelessness, lack of attention, we don't know. But the point that I'm highlighting is that so many of us, Gail, are under tremendous mental strain, psychological strain. There is no sort of safety net.
For a lot of people, absolutely.
For
a lot of people of color, I should say.
For a lot of people of color.
Yeah.
When Dr. Benson at Harvard, who happens to be one of my teachers, wrote the book, The Relaxation Response, right? The point he makes in that book is that in communities of color, black communities, where we get the stereotypical response that, black folks have more hypertension, more high blood pressure, more diabetes than anybody else, and it's a factor of how we eat and blah, blah, blah. He makes the point that the tremendous stress that resides in black communities because they are denied services, because they are in a vortex of despair, virtually. That causes hypertension. That causes other problems.
I mean, you said what you said, and I thought of 6 different reasons in there. What is available in a community of color to eat? readily, what is available inexpensively to eat. And we're going to talk a lot about food today.
We're
So
gonna
I'm
talk-
very excited.
it's a beautiful segue, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
We're going to talk
yeah.
about good food
Good
today
food,
and how to
yeah.
get good food
Yeah.
that we like to eat, right?
Absolutely,
And easy to prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah.
But we talk about the things that are available in our communities. We talk about just all of the other stressors. So so when they say, yeah, there's a higher propensity of all these diseases. Yeah, but you got to look at it holistically. So please don't point the finger at us and say,
And
you
say,
should
yeah.
eat better and you
Right,
should exercise more and you should. Okay, but you know what? Maybe there isn't a gym near my house like there is at my friend's house who lives in Bayside. Who's got a gym literally on her corner she can walk to. My other friend who lives in Bayside, you talk about stressors. So she loses her job, no problem. Mom and dad got her.
Got it. Precisely.
So, so just don't wag the finger and say we should just eat better and work out more.
Right.
Yeah,
We
there's
have
there's a whole other backstory there. But one of it is the food, and we're going to talk about food tonight.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, man. Before we do that, for those of you who might not be familiar with the fact that we do a magazine called Where It's At, and I think I might be more. It's more appropriate that I introduce it to you, and Gail will give her opinion as a journalist as well as an observer. We have presented ourselves over the years as a platform for the community, a platform to stand on. And we have tried to keep our word. And so for 20 years, we've been laboring in the vineyards, literally,
Stomping the grapes.
Folks, believe me, I'm talking to you straight up. It's been really hell. It's been hard to keep this publication going. Just take a look at the landscape right now as to what publications are available, how publications have changed over the years, how they've morphed. You look at the Times, you see it's a completely different paper, not as much bulk, not as much stories, not as many stories, you look at every other paper, you see the decline. It's not because people aren't reading. The decline in newsrooms and reportage and that sort of thing comes from the fact that the money to leverage these products are drying up. And can you imagine a pandemic? We're in our third year now. When businesses shrink, newspapers shrink.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a direct correlation.
it's a direct correlation. So I want you to bear in mind that whenever you see local publishers making an effort to keep you updated on the news, running local events, covering issues that concern you, your children, your family, please support them and encourage the businesses that have managed to stay in business to support these papers, because I guarantee you that if the business is not invested in the community, you are not going to be getting the products and services of quality that you rightfully deserve. If businesses are not investing in advertising in local papers, local community papers, you have no business supporting them.
Right.
It's straight up. And so on that note, I would say...
Can I, before we segue, can I just add very quickly? So why should you support local newspapers like this one that deals with people of color in our community? Because we tell the stories of these people in our community. And I'm not picking on Bayside, so don't tweet at me. But if you live in Bayside, you got lots of local papers. And so your son, Johnny, wins an award, and it's in the Bayside local paper. And then guess what? Johnny applies to Harvard and he gets in, partly because he's got all of these local paper clippings and online, and all sorts of links to all sorts of online stories about Johnny's award, and he sends them off to Harvard, and Harvard says, look at all this kerfuffle about Johnny and all the local news. We're going to accept Johnny. Now, you've got Bob down the street in South Jamaica with no local newspapers that are going to run his story about his award, and he applies for something and doesn't have that kind of buzz. we tell our stories. When your child wins an award, when your child wins the swim meet, when your child succeeds and graduates, we print those things in our papers for us to see and enjoy and celebrate. And it goes way beyond just the confines of where we live. That travels, and the news of the great things that we do in our environment travels. And the next thing you know, we're not the only one telling these great stories, but it all starts here. So we have to support local media. And one of the ways that we support local media is through ads. And one person who puts a lot of ads in is Tony Bowen. And he is an amazing person when it comes to food. So should we talk to him?
Yeah, we absolutely. We having spoken to Tony before, where we got a synopsis of where he was going. And by the way, we're going to be talking to Tony. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what the plans are. And I'm putting it right out in the universe, right? Tony is going to become your resident informant on food. At some later time, Tony is going to be talking food in a way that he doesn't even know right now. But this guy, here's what I've often said. The challenge in our communities is lack of imagination, right? And that comes from a lot of other psychological factors and all that. You know that. But, it's demonstrated.
I don't know. I'm gonna sidebar. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's a lack of imagination. I think we're very imaginative. I teach. I've heard all the excuses, so I know we're very imaginative as a people. As a person, I don't think that we encourage the imagination to become reality. So I think we've got great dreams and we have great imaginations. We come up with wonderful ideas, but we don't have mom and dad to write the check to say, go and open that company. So we really have to look at people like Tony, who takes, who saves and struggles and builds.
And it is to that I am addressing imagination. Here's why. Because I'm about to say that what I like to see is innovation.
Yes.
Right? With his knowledge, with Tony's, we're going to be introducing Tony to you again in a
who's
minute.
Tony? Right?
Just you're wondering who's Tony, right? But what he has done, or what he could have done, he could have simply opened a restaurant. All right, a high-class restaurant, with his background, with his love of preparing food and so forth, and with his personality. Yeah, he could have opened a fine restaurant. But guess what? This is why I talk about lack of imagination, because you look in our communities and you see everybody, and that just doesn't apply to black people or people of color. It applies right across the board. Everybody on the strip has a restaurant. Everybody has a clothing store, a boutique. There is nobody. Very few people step out of the box.
Right.
No. Here's what Tony has done. He looked at the possibilities. He had this idea. He stepped out of the box. What does he do? He says, there's a bunch of people who are Jamaicans, right? They're kind of branded all over the world. You go and say, I'm Jamaican. They say, oh, Bob Marley, right? So it's a brand. But he goes further. He says, look, I'm going to be providing for these people what they like to eat. But I want to do it in a different way. I don't want to open a restaurant. I want to make sure that, one, these people, Jamaicans and I mean, that we Caribbean folks, we have 3, 4, 5 jobs, right?
Yeah.
We're always doing. So we never have time to really prepare the food that we like. So he factored that into his plan.
Right.
And he says, I'm going to provide you with food that you like, you enjoy, and that you will pop into your microwave, and in 6-7 minutes you have a meal.
That tastes great.
And a nutritious meal.
Exactly.
So that's what I say is innovative.
Yes.
And the big awards, as you know, is based on business innovators
and game changers.
Right. So
that's definitely a game changing when you think about freezing, a good frozen meal.
And by the way, talking about freezing, freezing was anathema at one time because people did not understand the science behind freezing.
Right.
But freezing delivers to you the freshest food, ironically enough, folks, research it. It delivers to you food that contains all the nutrients that you
Yes,
need.
exactly.
It protects and
Flash freeze, and
encompasses
you get
precisely.
all of the nutrients that were in there
Absolutely.
are maintained.
Let's talk to the real expert.
Why are we conjuring? Exactly.
Let's talk to the real expert.
Tony Bowen, Jamaica Choice Foods. How are you?
I am lovely this evening, Gail and Clive. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you again. No stranger to the show. He was here once before. If you missed him before, in case you missed him, and he introduced us to Jamaica Choice Foods. It's a frozen food product.
Yes.
So just give us a real quick rundown, and then we can go from there about the expansion.
Sure. So Jamaica Choice Foods was born out of the idea that our food is loved by all. It's the way it's made is the way your mother made it. Homemade taste, none of the fancy additives that you can get now in a Jamaican restaurant. And we wanted also to make it nutritious and available in the places where it was not prior to us coming into space.
So you mean local restaurant, local
Supermarkets.
grocery stores, right?
Yeah, right.
Correct. You know, we wanted, and especially now in the time of this pandemic that we're living through, we wanted it to be at your fingertips. You didn't have to get in the car and drive around the corner or 10 blocks away.
Or pay delivery.
Pay delivery. You know, we're now in a very mobile grab and go mindset in our society. So I wanted to make it readily available to everyone, not just our people. The brand Jamaica is trending big time, and our food is sought after by
Those people
far and
visited,
wide.
Yeah, far and wide. You know, just for the hell of it, they want to
Sure.
eat something Jamaican.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mindset that went into creating the food, and thankfully, you know, we're getting good response from the community, and they seem to enjoy the food and enjoy the vision that we had about the food.
And remind us again your what you have available.
So we
What
make
dishes?
the four basic Jamaican dishes, which are curry goat with white rice, oxtail stew, curry chicken, and brown stew chicken.
And those are the Jamaican, well, I should say the Caribbean staples right
Yes.
there. And so I remember from the last time you had on, you did a lot of research.
I did.
And it went into this. You used recipes that, you know, came from your family as well. And these four dishes that you're serving frozen are healthy. You erred on the side of health. Tell us about that.
So, you know, we're not health experts by any means, but we wanted to make sure our food started trending down a different path in the 90s. You know, when I learned to make oxtail, it was the old-fashioned way. You brown the meat, you put all the basic Caribbean spices, and you cook the meat nice and tender, fall off the bone good. That's how I grew up eating this kind of food. And somewhere in the 90s, that changed. You know, people started using things like MSG
Right.
Yeah.
and browning.
Yes.
You know, browning to me is something that my mother put in the black cake that she made at Christmas time. You know,
Okay.
it was never meant to be on our meat.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's burnt sugar.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that we don't really need in our food.
Exactly.
So we wanted to differentiate ourselves with not just good taste, but also something that was nutritious, because it's not just the adults that will be consuming this food, it's the kids,
Yeah.
and we want our kids to grow up on healthy food, healthier food.
And in my conversations with you, Tony, one of the things you assured me of is that the research is ongoing with respect to the development of the food and its quality and its taste and so forth. And as things evolve, you are looking to the science to make sure that you lessen the additives
Correct.
and you enhance the enjoyability, to
Sure.
coin a word, of the food.
Sure. And to that end, when we first conceptualized the food, we thought we needed to provide some kind of vegetable for the meal. And as it turns out, it's we've been having some mixed results with the makeup of the vegetable. So because of that, the next iteration, when we make our food upgrades, which we'll do once every 6 months, we'll probably change the composition of the vegetable and make it something, more not susceptible to lethality, meaning it's not going to get overcooked or turn rubbery, and
Right.
it can take away from the overall taste of the dish. So
Absolutely.
we'll be improving that.
Nice.
No, clearly, my friend, this is a major undertaking, and without overstating the fact or without getting into too much detail, I know that funding such an operation is nowhere near like funding a restaurant.
Correct.
This requires equipment. This requires the high efficiency freezing. This requires, the kind of
Manufacturing.
care and
Yeah.
And you're an agency oversees your production, correct? A federal agency.
Yes, the USDA is the premier food safety agency in the United States and the world, really. And they have inspectors in our plant every time we make a small pot of rice. They oversee it, and we keep very detailed records. As a matter of fact, right now we're going through what's called a FSA overview and review, and that is just so that the agency makes sure that we're following all protocols and that our food is safe. They test the food, they test
All of the
the
production.
equipment.
Right.
They oversee the production, the gloves, the aprons,
They
everything. is
literally
tested.
swab the place, right?
They absolutely
Wow.
swab everything, even the wheels on the cart get swabbed. So,
So not only is it tasty food, but it's food that is just produced in the best conditions,
correct,
manufactured to the highest degree of safety
correct,
that you can provide.
correct.
As a matter of fact, the USDA, they have an office at your office, right?
They do.
Really?
They do.
Yeah, literally have an
Wow.
office. Yeah, they live in. They actually live in.
They paying you some rent?
Not quite.
That's a thought.
You lease them the space.
Lease the federal government some space. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I just got a bill from them. So,
Jeez, that's the wrong direction.
yeah.
Yeah,
So now that you have established yourself in the community, you've got these 4 great offerings. You are locally, you're in Farmbria and Key Food and
Yeah.
all of the places that we like to shop.
Yeah,
Any place new since the last time?
Yes, thanks for asking. So we had been anticipating shipping to Bermuda, and there was a little bit of a snafu on their freight forwarder, and the product sat for quite a few weeks. at the shipping yard. However, it's now on island and it's in the supermarkets and starting to do very well. You know,
That's so
as
exciting.
everyone comes out of the pandemic malaise, you know, people are going back to the stores and shopping, and so it's starting to do well. We've also had a couple of big chain stores sign up with us, namely Food Bazaar.
Nice.
So we're in all their stores in Brooklyn and the Bronx. We're doing sort of a pilot program with them, see how the food goes, and then we'll expand to the other 19 stores.
Yeah, Queens, Long Island, right?
Yeah, and we
Connecticut.
have other chains that are interested showing up, right?
Sure. We also, a couple of weeks ago, we expanded to Connecticut. We expanded to Philadelphia.
Wow.
And as we speak, we're getting looks in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Because as you can imagine, where the diaspora resides, Florida would be the next big
Yeah.
state for us. So we're doing pretty well.
Yay. Oh, that's wonderful.
You know, the fact that you have undertaken this tremendous task is one that I know requires a lot of money, a lot of leveraging. And one of the things that makes me extremely proud is the fact that Tony has been able to tap in to investors who look like us.
That's great.
Yes.
You know, and folks, let me get on my,
Soapbox?
oh yeah.
Okay, virtual soapbox time,
yeah.
everyone.
So let me talk to you now. You know, we say it so often. We use terms like crab in a barrel. We use terms like we're our own greatest enemy, our own worst enemy. We need to stop saying these things because we're giving power to it, right? We're giving power to it. And one of the young men that I mentor, he always says, Mr. Williams is always saying, Dr. Williams is always saying that we mustn't use the expression crab in a barrel. And I don't know if I should agree with him or not. And the more I see him and talk to him, is the less he's using that expression because not only does he know me and know what I stand for, but he's meeting more people like myself. You see, the thing is, folks who have that old sort of misgiving about the other person that looks like them, it's been sort of handed down. We do a lot of things, folks. Listen to me carefully. We do a lot of things that we just inherit. We perpetuate myths that no longer apply to us, that are no longer true. And why do we do it? I'm going to tell you straight up. We're lazy. Yeah, we're lazy. We've stopped thinking. We're not using the gray matter anymore and figuring things out. If we were our own greatest enemy, let me tell you something. Jamaicans, and it's not to say we're bragging, because our African-American counterparts, and I prefer to say black people, black folks living here have done an incredible job of establishing black culture, black businesses. We are holding on to their coattails. We're standing on their shoulders. All right? So, let's throw the crab in a barrel thing out of the park. It doesn't apply. Right. Because, Tony, you wouldn't have been able to start this business if black Americans had not made all the sacrifices that they have made to make the playing field a little more level.
Absolutely.
And so because of their efforts, we are able as immigrants to come here and even dare aspire to do stuff that we didn't get an opportunity to do back home.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, we are indeed grateful that you can see an environment where you can innovate as you have been doing. But to get back to the point of leveraging the business, when you were looking for financing, there were not many other places you could look except to your own community.
There was none, actually. I ended up settling eventually on the community after a lot of frustration trying to deal with the big banks.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
people who understand the business world and who understands the community that we live in. They were the ones who stepped up and decided to fund what we're doing. And I'm ever so grateful because, you know, they can teach me a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm all about the learning.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Our guest is Tony Bowen. He is president and CEO of Jamaica Choice Foods, a new approach to food preparation and food delivery. You know, and we're going to be talking more to Tony on his journey to this point. This is Conversations with Clive Williams, my friend and my counterpart, Gail Lewis, Professor Gail Lewis, with me. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a taste of the South? Well, honey, come on down to Carolyn's. We have fried chicken, catfish, whiting, barbecue beef ribs, mac and cheese, and some collard greens, freshly made desserts, and much, much more. We're located at 2564 Hempstead Turnpike in East Meadow. Order online at carolyns.kitchen and receive 5% off your first order.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe, it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it. Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it. Gonna get it, gonna slip it, gonna cuff it. Check it, talk to doctor and share it. Gonna get it, gonna slip it, gonna cuff it. Check it, talk to doctor and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
What do we do?
You may not be able to plan ahead for a ghost encounter,
Under the dining table now!
but you can plan ahead for natural disasters. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts.
Maybe it's the apocalypse.
Know your evacuation routes and decide on a safe emergency meeting location.
Here? I know. I would have picked Orlando.
Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. So pass the Proton Pack to the next generation and visit ready.gov/plan to get started.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
Very good evening again to you. Conversations with Clive Williams is also brought to you by Our World Media and Where It's At magazine, right? Remember that. Whenever you walk into your supermarket and you're leaving the supermarket, look for those stands and make sure that you look for a copy of Where It's At. Pick it up every chance you get. It's in some banks. It's in a lot of your high-traffic restaurant takeouts. And it's definitely in your supermarkets. So make sure you look for it. All right? And write to us. Talk to us. Our guest this evening is Tony Bowen, who has been our guest for the second time. And he will be our guest for a lot more times. And we have developed a tremendous relationship, Tony, and not only with the show, but with me. And this is a man whose accomplishments very impressive. And the fact that he's doing what he's doing is no coincidence. Yet there was no kind of nexus between what he's doing now and what he used to do. So Tony, what brought you to what did you used to do before you got into food?
Really? So I worked in the IT field. I'm
laughing already.
Yeah.
I was IT engineer and network specialist. So I worked, basically my whole career was for two companies. My first job I got when I came here in 79, 80. It was supposed to be helping a friend of my brother's out in a travel company for 2 weeks in the mailroom. And I'd never been to New York City before, and I was just shell-shocked being in the big city. And I worked feverishly to prove myself because, all I needed was a shot to get into the corporate world, and I was going to make it count. So I started in the mailroom, and the 2-week job turned into 4 weeks, and then 6 weeks, and eventually they came to me and said, "Boy, we really like you, but we've run out of things for you to do." And it so happened that the owner, it was there was a sister company on the 21st floor of the Lincoln building where I worked. And the gentleman there was Italian, very much a father figure, because he reminded me of my dad so much. And we clicked quite a bit. I was like his Guy Friday, in addition to my regular duties. And he asked me if I wanted to work for him, which I did. And long story short, I ended up learning their computer system because they booked incentive travel for a bunch of big companies, Panasonic, Wow McLean, Techniques, companies like that. And I got into the computer system on my own. It was, if you know the name Sabre, it's what American Airlines owned back in the day, and that was their booking system. And I taught myself how to be a travel agent. I came in, I stayed after work, and I came in on the weekends. I was young and green, didn't have any friends. So I worked through the system, and after 6 months, I was asked to join the operations team.
Wow.
And after a year, I was assistant manager.
Wow.
And when that company closed in 2000, I believe, 2000, and
You were still there.
I was still there. I was the senior vice president.
Oh my gosh! From the mailroom in '79 to senior SVP
What do you
in
have,
2000.
Yeah, what do you have to say to young people or younger people, because you're still relatively young, about this overnight success thing?
Don't believe the hype.
But I want a fancy car and I want it tomorrow.
Yeah, it will come crashing down back to earth, because nothing good happens if there's no foundation. And the foundation for me was learning. I was sort of pushed into the IT role at the company because we didn't have someone. It was right when computers started.
Yeah, it was before the computer
Exactly.
expansion. Yeah.
So I did things like, when they told me that I was going to be the IT person, all the hotels around New York City, the big hotels, the Marriotts, used to have these computer shows. And it was all these vendors coming together and selling computer parts. And you would go and buy the parts and then go home and build your own computer.
Gosh.
And I learned that by fire,
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. Nobody showed me how to do it.
Wow.
It was just a natural inclination.
And this was before YouTube, university, and all the things we have today. This was just literally doing it yourself.
Absolutely.
Figuring it out.
Absolutely. So one of the things that the company did was they wanted to be a full service company. So they would take the office in the field. So I ended up going to places like Hawaii. My first trip after coming from Jamaica, I'd never been anywhere else. The boss came to me and said, "Do you want to go to Hawaii?"
Yeah.
And
What luck.
what was I going to say? So I ended up going, and my work with computers attracted some of the people at American Airlines, because they wanted to be able to have remote access to the booking agent. And we beta tested all those systems. I was getting deliveries. Oh, you remember those big CRT screens?
Oh, yeah.
And the CPUs. I would have all that stuff shipped to Hawaii, to Singapore, to Australia. And we were setting up shop, in the field. So I learned a lot, and it was hard work. The hours were long. I would start work at 6 a.m. and at midnight I was still going.
Wow.
And that was with that company. So eventually, when the company folded, the owner ended up moving back to Europe. And he sold the company to this other gentleman who wasn't prepared to lead a company like that. They had been around since the 60s. And this guy thought that it was just going to
Run itself.
And the money would just come flooding
Yeah.
in. And it didn't happen. And we started losing clients one by one. So I was transitioned into another event company this time. And their specialties were the pharmaceutical industry. So I've worked on a lot of the drugs that you see now on the market, non-24, which is that for blind people.
Right, yeah.
Who they don't
I've
know
seen the
whether-
commercials, right, yeah.
I worked on that drug from a technical standpoint. Because, the FDA is a great agency, but they do not provide infrastructure to corporate sponsors who are trying to get their drugs on the market. So when you go to White Oak, which was where their campus is located, you have to, a lot of the work that you're doing is tied into your research, which is then tied into your SQL server that may be in Japan. So we have to provide internet access so that all those people in the back rooms who are supporting their people in the hearing room can get their hands on data at the drop of a hat. It's on demand. And I was able to provide internet access, not the slow dial-up stuff that but some innovative connectivity that allowed 30, 40 people in a room to work, and it seemed like you were on a landline connection.
Wow.
Did you realize that you're writing your own story right now?
Yeah, this was before Wi-Fi and all of those great things we have today.
Yeah,
This
is your story being written right now, brother, and your journey. Now, food, where'd that come from?
Well, I was a big eater as a kid. I won't lie. I was very. My metabolism. So
was I, Tony.
Oh,
they were voracious eaters.
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but my mother was a great cook. My mother was one of those stay-at-home Jamaican moms who relished taking care of her family.
Yes.
And, I saw things like shrimp and lobster was never a staple in my house. But when my uncle, who lived on the beach on a different part of Kingston, came by, he had all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he handed it to my mom, and she made the most delicious dishes. And I'm like, where did this woman learn this?
Yeah.
It was all natural. So I'm the beneficiary of that knowledge that was passed down. And I was able, at age 7, she mentored me, not by showing me and having me write things down, but the visual, and to get that natural instinct of what spices go together and what flavors work. It's all natural, So the best chefs that are out there, they never learned their craft at culinary school. It's something innate that they know.
That's something way deeper than that.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you why it's way deeper, because I had your similar experience, right? A mom who just lived for providing that kind of meal for her family. She had a knack for preparing dishes that would blow your mind. Sure. She made a jello from cow's foot that was one of the nicest. You eat that, your hair stands on end. Right? Here's what's unfortunate on my part. I had absolutely no talent for that. And it wasn't encouraged by my dad, who says, "Come, boy, get out of the kitchen and come with me."
Work.
Right.
And I regret that.
Yes.
I regret that because I'm a foodie. I like food.
Yes.
And if you ask me to prepare something with my imagination, I maybe can get it done. It's going to take all day, and things are going to burn. And the kitchen will be smoked up because I live in my head, so I don't remember that I put this here and I put that here, and I put some spice, and I come back to it and I said, did I put spice in that? So I add some more spice. Gosh. So it's grief with me. Yeah. But kudos to you, brother. You learned, and you're applying the lessons today.
Absolutely.
That's an incredible story. And so. What you brought is your mom's cooking, her style. And do you write these things down now?
I do. I do.
He kind of has to. The
Yeah.
FDA wants to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do because at some point, when I'm expanding beyond my current capacity, I'll have to be able to have other people
Right.
prepare
Replicate.
it exactly. So it's formularized right now.
Quality control.
Absolutely, I keep everything close to my vest because I
Yeah.
want to protect my
Sure.
intellectual property.
Absolutely.
But I absolutely will pass that knowledge on.
And you do a lot of quality control. I mean, the curry goat that you buy in Farmbria is just as tasty as the oxtail that you've bought at Food World, not Food World. What's the one that you're in now? The other supermarket. Is it Food World?
Yeah,
Food World.
yeah.
Yeah.
Food World.
They're-
Food Bazaar.
Food
also.
Bazaar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the one I was thinking of. You've got that continuity. That quality control, so that no matter where I'm buying it, no matter which of the 4 offerings I'm buying,
Yeah.
they're always tasty. They're
Yes.
always delicious. They're always easy to prepare.
Right, and our people are very suspect of process. So
Because it's not your mama's cooking, so yeah, you
So-
don't eat outside food, right?
So very often, when we do these in person, we've started doing these in person tastings because we want it to go beyond the packaging. We want to personalize the brand so that people know what's inside the box, and they can buy it confidently and know that it's the very same thing that they've tried in the stores. So we inevitably always get, the questions, are you sure what you're serving here is in the box? And I have to explain, I actually made a big batch and I boxed some of it, and then the rest is what you're eating now.
Right.
Tony doesn't know this, but Annette and I, because of where it's at, we dropped the magazine at different outlets, supermarket outlets. We go to the frozen aisle and we look.
You check.
We look at we look at other products too, and the packaging. And this packaging is going to be further enhanced. The kind of packaging that this guy, you would not believe. It's,
Jamaica Choice. It's good stuff.
You would not believe the quality. And their experts have looked at the packaging and says, wow. And there is room, we see, for even further improvement. So we are, okay, so people, you're not paying for the packaging. Let me assure you, you're not paying for the packaging. It's because we want to make the product as appealing, because it starts from your eyes, right? Food starts from your eyes.
You eat
right?
with your eyes, right?
With your eyes, and if we present you with a beautiful package, we're ensuring you that when you get into that package, you're going to be just as pleased, or even more pleased, because now the taste buds are going to be involved.
Right. And I encourage people to compare our packaging against Stouffer's or Lean Cuisine. The box itself, the cardboard, is actually laminated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every single one, so that the quality stays constant. If it gets into a wet environment, it won't
Break up and
disintegrate.
disintegrate.
Right.
Yeah. So, the whole design I did personally. I spent 6 months going to different supermarkets. and
Yourself?
Talking to frozen food managers, because I wanted to get a good sense of what works and who my potential customers are. And the psychology, believe it or not, there is such a thing. The psychology of packaging and the colors. I before this, the only thing I knew about red was that bulls get very triggered by it. I didn't realize that from a human
Oh, it's a
perspective.
power color, man.
It is. It
It's
is
a power color.
So now, when you go to the frozen food aisle, and as Clive hinted, we're probably going to restructure the coloring and all that on our package, because now in the frozen food aisle, every manufacturer's product is red. There is red in the packaging. So, you don't stand out as much because everyone's doing the same thing.
Well, Jamaica Choice always stands out because of the taste. What's
Yeah.
inside the box.
Brother, entrepreneurship. Gail, I don't know if you're like me and you're seeing today's younger generation. Everybody's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You notice it?
It's a good thing.
No, but here's what puzzles me. What are you entrepreneuring?
Are you selling?
Entrepreneur. Folks, it's hard enough to spell the word. It's even harder living up to the label. What is entrepreneurship? Do you understand that entrepreneurship is one of the loneliest journeys you can ever take?
Absolutely.
One of the hardest, and by the way, it's not to discourage you. I am one who is the greatest encourager of people you can ever find. However, the fact that you say you're an entrepreneur, it should mean something. And what it should mean is that you are prepared to work nights without sleep.
Yeah.
You are prepared to work under all kinds of circumstances to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
You are prepared to put up with almost anything to achieve your goal. The sacrifices you make are unbelievable. You can only believe what I'm saying until you actually make those sacrifices yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a lonely place. And, the fact that you have taken on that challenge, and in the space that you have where there's very little experience, because it's not a well-traveled space.
Correct.
Okay, means that your journey through entrepreneurship is even more challenging. And and I'm saying you're writing your story here. This what we're talking about here can simply be used in let me withdraw simply, can be used effectively in any teaching situation. MBAs need to learn this kind of stuff, right? Because after all, and I'm talking to my my fellow scholars, so to speak. I don't like to, but you get an MBA. What does that prepare you for? Just watch Shark Tank, and you'll see people with MBAs. They say the craziest, most ridiculous things, right? As MBAs,
Yes.
right? They don't know.
Yes.
Until you walk the walk and experience what it is to be an entrepreneur, you have absolutely no idea. So before you hurriedly put that entrepreneurship thing on your card, and you make people like myself laugh behind their hands, get a sense, and I'm just trying to put some reality in the thing, get a sense of what it is to start a business from scratch, not having the kind of funding that you really need, and trying to figure out a way to back into finding that funding, finding a way to scale that business, finding a way to regrow that business after it has been devastated either by price increases, something went left, some other thing went south.
Yes.
How do you recover? How do you pivot? That's the word I'm looking for.
Correct.
Right? That's
Correct.
entrepreneurship.
Correct.
And certainly I'm sure Tony and I will be happy to give some classes whenever you're ready, because we have walked the walk. I am walking my own walk. Tony's walking his own walk, and somehow I think the two of us will meet at a point where we can enhance what each other is doing in a very positive way for the community. Gail, if you don't have any more questions for Tony. I can think of a few more.
I know we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Tony Bowen, Jamaica Choice Foods. Where can people go to find out where they can find Jamaica Choice Foods near them? Website, social?
Our website is JamaicaChoiceFoods with an S at the end.com. On the Where to Buy page, I update that daily.
Oh, wow.
So you'll find every location with address where you can find our food.
Where you can find all 4 offerings. Again, the curry goat, the oxtail, the curry chicken, the brown stew chicken, all frozen and ready to reheat in your own home.
Absolutely.
Go check it out, guys. Jamaica Choice Foods. And if you're not sure, go to the website. Give it to us one more time, Tony.
JamaicaChoiceFoods.com.
JamaicaChoiceFoods.com. Go there and find out where you can find it near you and buy it and take it home and feed it to your kids and have a good time with it. It's healthy, it's tasty, and it's easy to prepare. I mean, I don't need to know anything else.
You're really excited about this.
Look, you had me at frozen and tasty, and then you had me again at healthy.
Could you invite her to the factory, please?
I would love to host you, Gail.
Yeah.
We're
going
talked about that the last time.
We're gonna bring a camera and we're gonna go to the.
I hope we can organize that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna go see how it's made.
Yeah.
We have not had an official opening.
Oh, let's do it. We'll talk more offline.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But guys, Tony Bowen, Jamaica Choice Foods, go check it out. It's at Farm Bria. It's all over the hood. You know, it's in the frozen food section.
Look for the
packaging. Quality Jamaica Choice Foods packaging.
As a matter of fact, you'll see Norm D on the mast as well. So just look for the package. Go in, ask the grocer. If you don't see it, insist on being shown Jamaica Choice Foods. You want to see the curry goat, you want to see the oxtail, the stew chicken, the curry chicken. And I'm sure that in the future, Jamaica Choice Foods is going to be talking about other products that reflect the tastes of the Caribbean community, and not only. And when we say Caribbean, folks, we're not limited to English-speaking Caribbean. We're talking about our brothers in Puerto Rico. We're talking about our brothers in Haiti. We're talking. Come on, we all eat the similar foods.
Yeah, you're getting down with the sac passe. It's okay, right?
You know, so let's get together here and
because
and
Jamaica Choice Foods are where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Pick it up too when you're in the grocery store after you ask for Jamaica Choice Foods on your way out. After you purchase them, make sure that you pick up Where It's At magazine. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, my dear. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you to both of you.
You know something, man? I have really 2 favorite people to come on this show. And why? Of course, Superb Motors. They are a tremendous group, a Caribbean brother who has started a business, a car business that's totally different. Jamel Thomas, totally different, the car guy, from any car business that you have ever gone to do business with. A total experience. So check out Superb Motors, all right? They are on Instagram. And sir, Tony, thank you so very much for coming by. And
thanks, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail.
We want to be able to, the next time we talk, we want to be able to talk more about the investors, to the investors. And again, folks, there are black folks in our communities who have the money to invest in your business. Stop looking outside to others, and let's begin to finance ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right. Clive Williams, Conversations with me and Gail. Look forward to seeing you next time real soon. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.